When you first look at an accident, there's a tendency to focus only on those basic facts. But our investigations must also look at the context. And in Lac-Mégantic, that context was about more than handbrakes or what the engineer did or didn't do that night.
As we have said all along, and as the criminal charges demonstrate, clearly the rules were not followed. The facts show that insufficient handbrakes were applied to the train and that the handbrakes were not tested appropriately.
You didn't say what the Transportation Safety Board pointed out about MMA, and that it had a weak safety culture, unsafe conditions. It ran largely unchecked. Transport Canada knew the follow-up wasn't there. How can you explain to Canadians that this railway was allowed to operate? Why didn't someone shut it down?
I think we have to take a look at what's in that study from the TSB. I haven't had a chance to go through the study, Julie, to figure out what has been said.
Which begs the question, who then was in a position to check on this company, to make sure safety standards were being met? Who was the guardian of public safety? That is the role of the government, to provide checks and balances, oversight. And yet this booming industry where unit trains were shipping more and more oil across Canada and across the border ran largely unchecked.
And it concluded that the department were not guardians of Canadian safety, as Wendy Tadros says, that you were essentially, the department was derelict in their duty. Does your department share responsibility for the deaths of 47 people?
This accident is a response of the fact that rules were not followed. In this case, most specifically that handbrakes were not properly applied nor properly tested. The results of that, of course, were very devastating.
MMA had not implemented its safety management system. If Transport Canada does not audit the SMS of railways in sufficient depth and frequency and confirm that corrective actions are effectively implemented, there is an increased risk that railways will not effectively be managed safely. The point is that you weren't guarding public safety. Your department wasn't doing it. Do you accept responsibility for ignoring warnings that led to so many deaths?
Well, Evan, in fairness, you have the report. I haven't had the chance to read the report in its entirety at this point in time. So what you're quoting, I haven't had the chance to see myself.
Sorry, sir. Why haven't you read the report? Just out of interest, I've had a chance to read the report.
Yeah,
all day.
I've downloaded the report and I've been reading the report through the day. I just haven't gotten to the very last pages of the report at this particular point. But having said that,
that's page 130. Just for the record, that's page 130. It's not that far in. I'm just wondering why you haven't read the critical parts of a report a year in the making.
I've been reading the entire report, including all the technical data around the report.
The minister said she hadn't read the report yet in the morning. You haven't read the report. How do we know that your guys?
I haven't completed the report.
Well, I mean, I'm just, again, it's shocking. It's not that long. It's 172 pages. I spent a couple hours reading through it today. I just, you know, you're out here telling Canadians you're going to respond to a report that you haven't read. What does that tell Canadians?
No, the important thing, first of all, Transport Canada officials have to digest it and then assess the recommendations that are made. But in terms of reading, it depends what you're reading it for, Evan. If you're looking to pull a quote here or there for potential gotcha journalism, let's say, that's one thing. But if you want to understand how all the interconnected parts work together, that takes some time to actually sit down and think it through and sort it through.
I'm not doing gotcha journalism. As far as I'm concerned, I'm reading a report we've waited a year to find out what happened in an accident that killed 47 Canadians, and it says that 18 factors contributed, including your department. I've taken the time to read that and figure out why this happened. I would assume Canadians would want not gotcha journalism. The government say, yeah, we've read the report thoroughly too. Why is that asking so much?
Well, we're reading the report, and officials will have to read the report in its entirety and assess the recommendations. They will have to come up with an action plan on how to address those.